Okay, so in the last 2 chapters, we talked about the 3 different forms. So remember, factor form has the form of y equals a, x minus r, x minus s, where your x-intercepts are r and s. Right? Okay, so this is nothing new. We know about this. We learned this last chapter. We also have vertex form, where it's this, and it tells us our vertex HK. Yeah. Okay. And then from those 2 forms, by expanding, we knew how to change it into standard form. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And that told us y-intercept was c. Okay. So based on factor form, we were able to graph our parabola. Based on vertex form, we were able to graph our parabola. But in standard form, given just the y-intercept, we don't know how to graph the parabola because we only have 1 point in the parabola that we don't know where the middle is. So we are going to learn how to go from standard form to vertex form today. Alright, so this is, and how do we go from standard form to vertex form? How do I write this equation into this? By completing the square. Okay. So let's recall perfect square trinomials. So remember, we 2 chapters ago we did perfect square factoring. X squared and 9, they're both perfect squares. So this factors out to what times what? It's a perfect square. So x squared, I can break it into x, and 9 is 3 and 3. Signs are plus, so I have the plus, This simplifies to what? There you go. Perfect, like this, right? Alright. So the method of completing the square is basically forcing your equation to have a perfect square like this. That's what we're trying to do. And notice this is actually like factored form and vertex form in this case. What's my vertex then in this? What's my vertex here? You guys had a test on this on Friday. Yep. -3 and 0. Good. Okay, Samir, are you copying this down? Okay, good. So now, what if the numbers are not so nice? This one was a nice and easy example because the numbers were nice. Well, what if it's not so nice? Then we have to follow these 6 steps. So I'll go over these steps and then we'll do one with examples, with numbers. So the first step you have to do is make sure it's in standard form. Second, you're going to factor out the a value in the first 2 terms only. Then you're going to add and subtract b divided by 2 squared. Next, multiply the 4th term out with the a, and then complete the square, and then finally add the last 2 terms together. Okay, so now let's see how it goes with numbers, with this example. I actually want to do... actually, yeah, it's okay. We'll do this one. Example 1 right here. Okay, so first off, is this in standard form? Is this equation in standard form? Yep. X squared term, x term, a term. C term. All right, so x squared, x, and your constant. Okay, good. So step 1, done. It's in standard form. Step 2, factor out the a value. What's my a value right here? 1. Good job. Yeah, so there's actually a 1 right here. So when I factor that out, I'm going to get, I'll try to use a different color for each step. So 1, and I'm going to factor out the first 2 terms only. Okay, x squared divided by 1 is still x squared. 3x divided by 1 is 3x. Okay, so that's why nothing changed, because I'm just dividing everything out by 1. So step 2, done. Step 3, I'm going to add and subtract b divided by 2 squared. So looking at just this bracket right here, what's my b value? What's b? Yeah, 3, right, this right here. Okay, so 3 divided by 2 squared. That's what I want to do. Write that on the side. This step is very important. So 3 divided by 2 is just 1.5. And then 1.5 squared, 2.25. Okay, so 1.5 times 1.5 gives you 2.25. Okay. So what we're going to do with this number is we're going to add and subtract 2.25 in this equation. So 1 bracket x squared plus 3x. We're going to add 2.25. And we're also going to subtract 2.25. And then don't forget, you still have that plus 2 at the end. Okay. So this is probably the hardest step is, again, b divided by 2 squared. That number, you're going to add and subtract it. The order does matter, so make sure you do the add one first and then do the subtract one next. Okay, so the order does matter. Keep that in mind. So if you're thinking, what was the point in adding something and subtracting something? Well, if I just put that plus 2.25, I've changed the whole equation. I can't just throw something in. That will change everything. But if I do plus and then minus, then I didn't change the equation at all. It's still the same if I expand this back out. Okay, so we did this. And then now I'm going to multiply the 4th term by a so that I can bring it outside of the bracket. So I have 4 terms in the bracket right now. I'm going to multiply these 2. I'm going to multiply my 4th term with the a so that I can bring it out of the bracket. So 1 times x squared plus 3x plus 2.25. When I multiply this out, I get negative 2.25 plus 2. Okay, so I did my 4th step. I multiplied it, the 2 terms out, and I got this. Okay. So step 5. Okay, this right here is actually a perfect square factor. Right, this is a perfect square. Yes, it doesn't look something obvious like this, but this is still a perfect square. And it's going to be x. So this simplifies to something like this. This number that I put in here is this one right here. That's why I wrote this on the side. This is a very important step. So x plus 1.5. Okay. So if you don't believe me, you can do x plus 1.5 times another x plus 1.5 and you do FOIL, you'll get x squared plus 3x plus 2.25. Right, so the purpose of doing that plus and minus was to force it to become a perfect square. Okay. And then last step, collect like terms. So these 2 terms, I can add them together and I'm going to get minus 0.25. Right? And there you go. This is vertex form. What's my vertex right here? Equal?
-1.5 and -0.25.
Perfect. Okay, Caitlin, you had a question?
Can you explain to me step number 4 again?
Sure. So step number 4 was to multiply the fourth term by a so that you can bring it out of the bracket. So here, I had to multiply the 1 with the minus 2.25 to take it outside of the bracket.
And you can't do that with the rest of them to bring them out of the bracket?
You don't want to bring the rest out because the rest you need, this is a perfect square right here that you want to simplify to this.
Okay then.
All right. As I said, the first time that you're introduced with completing the square, it could sound very confusing. After 3 examples, I guarantee it's going to sound much more understandable. Right now, it might sound like a different language to you. Okay, let's try this one, example 2. Let's try to do this one. So I'm going to ask each one randomly. Okay, so first step. Is this in standard form? How many? Is this in standard form? Yeah, good. Okay, check. Done. Second step. Corin, what should I do as my second step?
You're 80. That's factor 8 times, so it's 3.
Good job. Factor out that 3 out. Out of everything?
The first 2 terms.
Only the first 2 terms. Good. Okay, so 3x squared divided by 3 is x squared. 6x divided by 3? J?
2x.
Yeah, plus 2x. Okay. Even if my third term is divisible by 3, you're not dividing the third term. You're just leaving it out. Okay. Because that's the rule. First 2 terms only. Okay. Next step. Y equals 3. X squared plus 2x. What's my next step? Taisha? Mm-hmm.
And then divide it by 2, 1.
Good.
And then square it, which is 1.
Perfect. What am I going to do with that 1?
And then subtract it and do it.
Awesome. Okay, so we did step number 3 right there. B divided by 2 and then squaring it. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is still 1. So plus minus 1. Okay. Fourth step. Nikki. With what? What am I multiplying the negative 1 with? With the 3. Good job. Okay. So y equals 3 bracket x squared plus 2x plus 1. So when I multiply it, I get negative 3. That's why the order does matter. 3 times negative 1 gives you that negative 3. Okay. Fifth step, complete the square. So y equal 3. Okay. Caitlin, what should I put in this bracket?
Sorry, where are we?
Step 5. So step 5, I need to factor this, basically.
Y equals 3x squared plus 6x. Would you read after that or?
No, you want to factor, you don't want to expand. So this, when we factor it, is going to be x. And what goes here? Armand?
Plus 1.
Plus 1. Good job. This. That's why we did this side step right here to remind us what we should put right there. So the plus 1. In other words, this is the b divided by 2 number, which is 1. Oops. Let me use red so that you guys can tell the difference. Plus 1. Okay, minus 3, minus 5. And then finally, my last step, Miriam?
Add like terms.
Yeah, so add the like terms. So in this case, it's just a negative 3 minus 5, which gives me minus 3 minus 5, minus 8. Yeah. There you go, vertex form. And what is my vertex now? Now that it's in vertex form, I can tell my vertex is correct.
1, -8.
Perfect. Okay, see, after second example, I think you guys are getting it much better already. All right. Any question on 1 and 2? Okay, we'll do one more just to make sure that we understand it. And this time we'll do a word problem. Okay, so a ball is thrown by this equation. What is the maximum height of the ball if we use t as time and h as height? Okay, so the question asks for maximum height, aka what is it asking for? Vertex, good. Exactly. So on this next test, I'm not gonna just say find the vertex, find the axis of symmetry, find the zeros. I'm gonna use word problems like this, like maximum height. What is the maximum height? You need to know. That means I need to find vertex. When does it land the ground? That means I need to find the x-intercept. Okay. How do I go from standard form to vertex form? What is the method that we just used? Taisha? Completing the square. That's right. Yeah, so there's a name for it, completing the square. So let's do that. H equals negative 4.9t squared plus 11.76t plus 1.4. Okay, so this was the equation that we're given in standard form. Okay, step 1, standard form, done. Step 2, Rosie, what's my second step? Which is perfect, yeah, and negative 4.9, not just the 4.9, so make sure you factor out the a, so the negative as well. So t squared, whoops. And then when you divide it, 11.76 divided by negative 4.9, you get negative 2.4t. Okay. Again, you're only factoring it out of the first 2 terms, so the constant stays outside of the bracket. Stays there, didn't disappear. It's there, but it's outside the bracket. Okay. Next step. Victor. Step 3. So what's my b value right here? Good. All right, negative 2.4. I need to divide that by 2. So it's negative 1.2. And then when you square it, you get 1.44. Okay. So what do I write right here? Yeah. That's it. Good job. Close the bracket and then plus 1.4, which is still there. Okay. Radine, 4th step. Fourth step. Step number 4. What do I have to do with this 4th term? I want to bring it outside of the bracket. Okay. So if I have to bring it out, what do I do with those two numbers? Not add. Times. Okay. Times it to bring it out. So times it. So h equals negative 4.9 t squared minus 2.4 t plus 1.44. I'm bringing this outside of the bracket. So negative 4.9 times negative 1.44 gives you positive 7.056. All right. So that's why the sign, the order of the sign matters. So when you bring it out, it's now positive. Okay. H equals, let's see, Samantha, my next step number 5.
This square.
So negative 4.9. What do I write in this bracket?
X plus 1.44.
Okay, so remember it's this number. The 1.44, we used it already. We used it here. So it's this inside the bracket. So it's going to be?
X minus 1.2.
Right. All right, but what variable are we using here?
Oh,
T. That's right. Okay, so T minus 1.2. Whoops. I keep forgetting to use red pen for this part. Okay. Just so that it's easier for you guys to see the steps. Okay, plus 7.056 plus 1.4. And then finally, we have H equal. Let's see, who can give me my final answer? Daniel, you want to try telling me my final answer?
Give me a second.
Sure. Right, so negative 4.9. Okay, so this part is done, so I'm just going to copy it right down. Good. And then I just have to add that up.
8 plus 8.456.
That's it. Good job. Okay. So what is my vertex? See?
1.2 and 8.456.
Good. Okay. Now, since this is a word problem, I have to conclude. Okay, I did all the steps. So, yeah, you did all the steps, you showed your work, but you never answered the question. Okay, so what is my maximum height? Therefore, Hao Ming, you want to try telling me my therefore statement? The ball. Okay, well that doesn't answer the word problem. So I found my answer. Now I need to put it in a sentence. Eiko?
Maximum height of the ball is 8.456 meters in 1.2 seconds.
Perfect. Good job. And I love that you wrote units. So the ball reaches 8.456 meters after 1.2 seconds. Okay. So that's how you connect what we did to a word problem. So you did all those work, but you need to know why you did all those work. So it was to find the maximum height, which is, this is my x value, which was my t, the time, and this was my y value, which was my height. Okay. How are we doing? Okay, good. Okay, so you could see me do this for like 100 times, and you like, oh yeah, I get it. It's easy, but it's different than you doing it one time. So make sure you do try these. After a couple of times, it will make so much sense. All right, so I do have a challenge question right here for those who wants to challenge themselves. If you feel like this is already challenging enough for you, then go straight to these homework questions. You can go to these, do every other one. So for these ones, this part right here, these ones, do every other one. It's actually still a lot, but I do want you guys to have the practice. If you can complete the square in this chapter, you're gonna ace this test. Okay, it's basically this chapter is just completing the square and quadratic formula, which we'll learn tomorrow. If you can do those two, you ace the whole thing. Okay, so make sure you try these, do the practice. Number 3 to 6 are just the basic complete the square questions. These ones are the harder completing the square questions, but make sure you do try them. And then these ones are the wonderful word problems that you guys need practice on. Okay. But again, like if you want to go for the challenge, try to factor this. Okay, so there's no numbers, but you're factoring variables out. So try it. Give it 5 minutes, and then I'll show you guys my solution to this one. Okay. Okay, so those who tried the challenge question, this is what I got. Yeah, and so that's why I said if you want to challenge yourself, it does look very ugly and messy, but there's a point to this. So I factor out the a out of the first two terms. I got that. And then I need to do b over a divided by 2. Remember, a fraction divided by another fraction is like it's times 1 over 2 times the reciprocal. So you get b over 2a. Right? b over a divided by 2 is actually b over 2a. So when you square it, you get b squared over 4a squared. So plus that, minus that. And then this right here, the first 3 terms, you can, it's a perfect square. So it's x plus b over 2a. And then when you multiply this out, you get this plus the c. Okay. This I can simplify. This term has an a and an a squared, so those cancel out. I'm just left with negative b over 4a plus 4ac over 4a to get the lowest common denominator between these two terms. Okay. Simplify it, I get this. So if I were to write out my vertex, it's negative b over 2a, comma, negative b squared plus 4ac over 4a. Okay, and if you're thinking, what's the point in doing all this with the a, b, and c and stuff? This part is hard to remember. But this part, negative b over 2a, can you guys remember like two variables? This is nice and easy to remember, negative b over 2a. What this tells you is whenever you're given an equation in standard form, I can just use this shortcut to figure out what my axis of symmetry is, or what my x value of the vertex is. So for example, let's say this equation right here from our word problem. My a is negative 4.9, my b was 11.76, my c is 1.4. All right, remember those numbers? When you sub it in, negative b over 2a, so negative 11.76 times 2 times negative 4.9. When you do it on your calculator, what do you get? 1.2, which was the x value of our vertex. Okay. Now that I know x, and now I know that my vertex is when t is 1.2, just sub it into this equation. negative 4.9 times 1.2 squared plus 11.76 times 1.2 plus 1.4, you'll get 8.46. All right, so that's the fast way. So using this formula, even just this, using this was the shortcut to finding the vertex. All right. For each of the chapters, notice I teach you guys one method, complete the square, and I also teach you guys the shortcut method to check your answer at the end. So after you finish all this, do the negative b over 2a to figure out what your vertex is and see if it match. If it match, you know you got the right answer. If it doesn't match, then that means you completed the square wrong. All right, so there you go. So there you just learned two method. One, the complete the square method. Second, the shortcut method. On the test, though, obviously, it will say solve by completing the square. So you still need to know both. Actually, no, you need to know that this is just a bonus method. Okay. So now everyone practice these ones. I'll upload today's video in case you have any questions or confused. You can rewatch it. If this sounded really confusing to you, you can listen to it again. Okay. Okay, so try those homework questions now. Go, go, go.